Hey guys, Heiko here. Garage, workbench, instrument cluster of my airhead, and a mystery box. And what does it say on there? KLC Design LLC. And it says Katdash /6. So I'm really excited. I'm going to put in a Katdash, the internals, the electronic internals for my instrument cluster today. And I'm just going to take you along for this. So let's get started right away. Let's take those off. Put them somewhere else. And then we're going to take, let me get my other Phillips head screwdriver. My instrument cluster, all the lights in there are still functional with incandescent light bulbs. I've in the past cleaned the circuitry in there and all the contacts, but it's just not very reliable. Sometimes the lights come on like very dim, and yeah, so Katdash is the ticket. And I now finally pulled the trigger and bought it. Cover off. This is still in pretty decent shape. This is, if I'm not completely mistaken, this is, let's zoom out a little bit. This is ABS plastic, so with ABS cement you can do some repairing. I had to fix this a little bit. So put this over here. And maybe take the box out of the way. And then the next cover. I have a new set of screws for this, or I've already put that in. All the hardware was available in our local hardware store. They are pretty well sorted. They have a bunch of hardware stuff lying around. The housing, my housing here is not perfect. A couple of those little mounting locations for screws, they were kind of broken, and I had to fix them a little bit. You can buy a new housing. I think Siebenrock makes them, but man, it's just prohibitively expensive. So as long as I can make this one work, it's gonna stay in the old housing. Seriously, I mean, over $200 for a piece of plastic. I understand they put the time in and the effort to make it, but this is supposedly it's supposed to be a machine screw M3, but then in some locations where the mounting point was broken, I had to use this type of like a wood screw type style, but it works. It's so far no water, nothing has gotten in there. And then the cool thing is when you buy a Katdash replacement insert LED, it comes with new seals and everything. So I guess today is the day that we're going to put some new seals in here as well. Okay, come on, screws, come out of there. Flathead screwdriver. There you go. There you go. Yeah, one of the gaskets is already, this one is stuck to this surface and this one is here, but yeah, I'm gonna replace them this time. And I think this is as far as we need to go. We really don't need to take the instruments out. I don't want to really. And then we just pop out the incandescent light bulbs because they kind of hold the circuitry in place. And let's see what else we have to undo here. Hold on, guys. Give me a break here. Hold on. Almost always when I'm making a video, I get interrupted by banging doors, screaming kids, it's like clockwork. So let's see what we have to actually do. Let's, you know what? Let's, before I keep going on my old instrument there, let's take a look at Katdash. Nicely bubble wrapped in a box and then in a anti-static bag to protect the circuitry. Yeah, let's touch my vise here real quick, ground myself. And then let's slide this out. So they packaged it really nicely. So there is, you know, the plastic contraption that's under here. And then over this section, they even put a little piece of foam here. I guess I have to take this off. But this looks all pretty nice. It will sit in here like that. But I wonder what this is all about. What is this all about? Anyone? Any idea? Am I just sticking that in there? Maybe I stick that right in there, into this opening where I just pulled the little incandescent out. Maybe that's what it is. There are no instructions in the book, so I'm a little surprised. There is a letter, a card, and then I ordered another light bulb for my headlight. I have an LED headlight bulb, the H4, but my parking light bulb was still a normal incandescent, and it just looks different in color. So let's put this away. Yeah, I would say that probably goes right into that opening. I'll put this out of the way as well. We're going to take the last 3 screws out here. And then we're going to pry off. Oh, this comes out with this included. I didn't even have to take the light bulbs out. Magnet. I want the light bulbs, the screws to come out. Okay, there we go. That's old. Like I said, it's still working, even though not very reliable. I first thought of just buying LED light bulbs and replacing all the incandescent, which is possible. But you still have the old cruddy, corroded contacts. And then, you know, I've measured, tested this all with a multimeter. So this is clearly okay, not great. We're going to keep it for a rainy day. And now let's see if we have to clean up anything here. There's a little bit of some rust on the surfaces, but really nobody sees that from the outside. The colored lenses in here, they're still okay. Oh, and let's take a peek at the whatchamacallit, the gasket kit that they put in here. So we have those two that I really want to replace, and then this one here is the one that runs on the outside. So I guess if we want to replace this seal, we actually have to take the instruments out. Shall we? Shall I do that? I think so. All right, you guys, hang in there. I'm just going to pause here, take the instruments out. No, why not show you guys? So, like I mentioned, so those mounting points, a couple of those were broken in mine. So I had to kind of make it work with gluing, and then not using machine screws, but those self-tapping, not self-tapping, like sheet metal type style threaded screws. I found screws that had the same head size, so it kind of fits in here nicely. I might have to do a little bit more of repairing on here on this plastic. Okay, let's see if we can get it out. There we go. Oh. You guys got to be really careful with those needles on the speedometer and tachometer. They are unforgiving. They break as if they are made out of, I don't know, glass. It's kind of cruddy. My needles are kind of cruddy. They're not very nice and orange anymore, all discolored. But I don't want to mess too much with this. They're working, both instruments are working properly. I've done a little bit of some cleaning where I could get to without disassembly. I always blow everything out, so if there are any dust particles in there, I try to get it all out. So now I'm just going to put this aside. And the tachometer. And this one here. Like I said, replacements are available, but I just can't spend $220, $230 for a plastic housing of my instrument cluster. No, I mean, there are also more modern replacements that don't use speedometer cable and tachometer cables anymore. They're electronic, but it's all extra money. And since everything is still in working, it would be silly. So now I guess we can peel the old seal off here. There it goes. All right, I'll put this aside. And now you can see the spots that I had to repair. I just used ABS glue and it worked. And I might have, yeah, this seal here is definitely toast. I mean, good thing that we are doing this. This is completely into pieces. I've replaced the glass before with a kit. I don't know who makes it. I think I bought it at boxer2valve.com. Gotta say, the original was glass, which breaks, and then it kind of sucks. The replacement is like plexiglass, and it scratches up really easily. And then another problem that I have is you glue that on with pretty much crazy glue, comes with glue. The gap here is not wide enough, so my those little shrouds here, they don't fit in there. Even though I didn't file around or anything, I just cleaned it up, took the glass off, and then glued the new replacement on there. But the gap here is not large enough, and I'm really debating what to do about this. I wonder if I just drop another spritz of glue in there to refresh the repair that I did here. It kind of sucks that it's all cracked up like that. But yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna file a little bit and put a drop of ABS glue in each hole to refresh my repair, and I'll be back. I get a little sidetracked. I am trying to enlarge the gap between the housing and the glass, so in the future I can put those little bezels around it, and the gap has to be 2 millimeters. I have a bunch of little, you know, those needle files, and I will probably get to 2 millimeters eventually. I'm trying to accomplish this without scratching up the housing anywhere else other than here in between. We'll see if that works out. And alternatively, you know, we can always spend $230 on buying a new one. I'm just trying to widen this so that the bezels will fit properly. I don't even know how this happened here. I mean, aftermarket parts, you know, gluing plexiglass on an old housing from 1974. All right, you don't need to watch me file. I'll show you when it's done. Hey guys, I am still working on this housing. I haven't even looked at the Katdash electronic part replacement. So just a couple things I want to mention real quick. If you take your instrument panel apart and in here are little brass threaded inserts where those little M3, where is it? M3 screws fit in. And, you know, with age, they crack, you know, people take it apart, fix the speedometer, and then damage the plastic. You see those tiny little cracks in here. What I'm going to do with where the brass insert is still in there, and I have a crack, I will use some crazy glue, and through capillary action, the glue is going to kind of like soak in there and kind of solidify it. And on those ends where I had already broken off plastic pieces and I, you know, kind of rebuilt it with ABS glue, I will actually this time mix up some, I have a cheap epoxy that's kind of very liquidy. We'll fill up those holes, and then when it's hardened, then I will drill a hole. So when I use my little self-tapping wood screw type screws, that they have a fresh, a little hole where they can, you know, create good traction. And then I told you I have issues to put those little bezels on ever since I replaced the glass with plastic from Boxer 2 valve. The gap here hasn't been wide enough to accept the lip at the bottom of the bezel. I've been now here for like 2 hours filing, and you know, I have a bunch of little needle files. They're just not quite thick enough. Then I went to sandpaper, all kinds of things, and it just 2 hours is too much for a job like this. So then I just went all crazy and I got the Dremel out. Here's my Dremel. And the attachment that I have in here right now is usually for those tiny little cut-off wheels. What I did, I took multiple of those, measured until I got to exactly 2 millimeters, put them in here. I use relatively low speed like this. And then you really have to be very careful. If you slip off, you're just going to scratch up your glass or your housing. Here, let me do a quick little demonstration. And then I guess the rest of it I will do without you guys watching, but I do want to show you guys. So one side I've already completed and the rubber fits. So, and then after that I will just run some probably like 180 grit, 200 grit sandpaper just to deburr the edges. Now the lip actually really goes in there and then is clamped in location. It's actually nice and tight. Initially, when I start putting the tool in this gap, the tool is thicker than the gap is wide, and so it kind of wants to catch and jump out. You got to be really careful. You gotta be very careful, and like as if you're at a shooting range and you're lining up your sights. That's how you have to line up this cutting wheel with a groove. And it's not really cutting the material, it's more like melting it almost. And you do that all the way around. And then I have this little half round file that then fits in there and deburrs the under edge of, you see the material is kind of melted and stuck to itself here. And this file will take care of that and takes that all off. And then since, like I said, I measured, I think I have 3 of those little cutter wheels in here. They are exactly 2 millimeters. So once you're all the way around with this, with step by step, then you can go around and do one more run. So you get it all the way to the depth, so you touch the black plastic. And so far, let's cross my fingers and knock on wood. So far, I haven't nicked the glass nor the housing. It's just all dusty right now. But I will spare you the agony of watching this. I will finish it, and then I will continue with a Katdash install. All right. So now we have both sides cut with a cut-off wheel and deburred. It's all still a little dusty, but and this surface here, you see, it's pretty rough now from the cut-off wheel. But once my little bezel is installed, you can't see that surface anymore. So it really doesn't make a difference. So if you have the same problem with a rubber bezel not fitting anymore after a glass replacement, then, you know, Dremel is your best friend, or whatever other rotary cut-off tool you have that accepts those those 3 little cut-off wheels. So after all the grinding, sanding, all that good stuff, cleaned up the table, blew out the dust out of this thing. Both of my bezels are on really nice and tight and snug in this groove. I am very, very, very excited about this. Now I grabbed my crazy glue from the fridge. That's where I store that, lasts longer. And now I'm just gonna put a little bit of crazy glue on each of those cracks. So then wherever I am at, I just put a couple pieces of cheap masking tape down. Put my 2 different components of cheap Harbor Freight clear epoxy next to each other. And then I usually use these wooden Q-tips. I always order like a whole bunch of those. They're very great for all kinds of cleaning tasks, you know. So mix, mix, mix. And then here in this case, we definitely want to make sure that I don't accidentally drip epoxy on the glass from the inside. That would be kind of a bummer. But hey, we're just gonna do it. The end of the Q-tip actually fits into the drilled hole that's already there. So, and while we let the epoxy cure a little longer, I just looked at the box. It's like 90 to 120 minutes. So we're just gonna leave the epoxy alone. It's already dry to the touch, but I don't wanna have to fiddle around on it. We're going to put the gap in this new gasket strip here at the bottom, away from weather, I guess, right? And then, I mean, it's like the size of a spaghetti. We probably just have to push this into the groove, yeah? Now we're having this sitting like that. Maybe we should have put it over to the side somewhere. But now what I'm going to do is just get a drop of crazy glue real quick. It's already back in the fridge. So one drop of super crazy glue right where those two pieces meet. And then we're just going to push it right in it and hope it stays there. All right, that's the speedometer. Slippy slidey in there on the new gasket. This is the tachometer. Slipping and sliding on the new gasket. And now we have to put a few screws in there. So wherever those brass thread inserts are still existing, I just use the proper screws for that. And wherever they are not, as I mentioned, I'm using like wood screws that have a similar size head. So that's perfect. And you don't want to crank this down. I mean, seriously, it's into plastic. And it's 45 years old. 46 years, actually. So just be gentle with the tightening. Not German, not guten tight, just gentle. Okay, and now over here we have one metric little machine screw. And then we have two okay. And then the two other gaskets here, they have some sort of adhesive. So no, wrong way. I'm assuming this one goes here and that one goes there. There's a hole for one of the screws. Kind of want to line that up and then stick the rest on. Perfect and perfect. All right, and then the next one. Can't pull it off. Cannot pull it off. There we go. Line up the hole. And now the actual magic here, this thing. I wonder what this blue little piece of tape is supposed to do. Just gonna pull it off. And then I wonder is this supposed to stay on here? Does anyone know? I don't think so. Kind of like so. One, two, three, four screws. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see where those 6 screws go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Like I said, easy on the tightening. Plastic, old plastic. Okay, those 3. What now? That cover is last. So now, gotta make sure. That's funny. I might have done this the wrong orientation. Maybe the rubber was supposed to go in here, not on there. Magic of video. The gasket is on the correct surface. The ends, they were not sticking the first time around, and now they are definitely not sticking the second time around. I'm just going to use my trusted crazy glue. It'll drop on each end, just so that the end at least stays in position. Good. That's good. And that's not good. Okay. And pushing. So I guess we got it. So now this goes on there. We'll make sure that we have it all lined up. So you guys can learn from my mistakes. How about that? Background noises. Lots of background noises in this house all the time. Okay, now we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Little machine screws. Just take it easy with the cranking down. Good. Good. And good. And then we have two of those a little bit bigger wood screw type style. They go in here. Okay, and now I just have to do a quick modification to this here. One of the holes was also cracked a little bit, and I had already fixed this once, so now I have to make this a little prettier here, drill a hole through it. All right, a few seconds. All right, modified, cleaned, more or less. And the last piece goes on top, and there are also 3 little screws that hold this in place. Okay, doesn't look any different than before, besides the bezels being installed now correctly. And we have a Katdash in there. I'm going to hook it up, and then we're going to take a look at it. How about that? Here we go, guys. Installed, hooked up, speedometer cable, tachometer cable, bezels. See, the background lighting is much nicer than with the incandescent. And then, ooh, another blinker. Ooh, nice and bright. And the only thing that we can't test is the brake failure light. Maybe if I shake the bike a little bit. Because if you make the brake fluid slosh around, you might get that light to come on, but it doesn't look like it. One day I'm going to take the tank off and test that circuit, but this is pretty incredible. Yeah. Okay, let's start the bike up. Okay, had to open the garage door. It's super windy outside, and this is now a two-hand operation here. Let's see. Starting without any throttle. Alright, generator light seems to be reacting normal. Yeah, when it gets too low, it starts flickering, okay. Yes. Okay. I like it. So far so good. Let's see what the high beam looks like. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. I like it. So yeah, my bike has to idle at around 1200 right there for the generator to produce enough juice. I've already installed a voltage regulator with a higher setting. Yes. Ooh, yes. All right, I think it's a success. Katdash installed in my 1974 R90/6 old housing. Couple repairs, you know, couple hacks to make it last a little longer before I have to spend $200+ for this thing. When the white paint here rubs off over time, just take a silver Sharpie to it. That's what I will be doing here in a second. All right, guys, Katdash installation. I will put a link for Katdash down below if you're interested in one of those. They make this for /5, /6, and newer models, even the GS models. And you can completely replace the electronics in there. I love it. Thank you. Take care. Bye.